Welcome Rotarians and guests to the Rotary Club of Seattle, the fourth oldest and one of the largest Rotary clubs in the world, where we embrace service above self and are connecting for good. I look forward to today's program. It's the first in a series where we Rotarians take time to explore and consider some of the contemporary social topics. In planning today's transgender program, my intent was for each of us to advance our understanding and to deepen our appreciation for gender identity and the imperative for transgender rights. While we may not get to all perspectives on this topic, we will get an initial perspective, and I think that's a good start. To begin today, I'm happy to be welcoming Anna Leota. She's going to offer our inspiration for the day. She'll be followed by David Woodward, who'll be leading our song, and Burr Stewart accompanying him. And then if you'll please remain standing after the song. Anna.
As I meditated on the invocation for today, I was proud of our club for creating the space for the conversation of today's program. My mind went first to our shared Rotarian values reflected in our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? It called me to reflect upon how, as Rotarians, we help cultivate and foster communities that reflect the diversity of our society and our world by seeking first to understand the range of human experiences and viewpoints. Today, we have the opportunity to broaden our understanding of people of diverse identities, including those of all sexual orientations and gender identities, such that they may feel welcome, safe, respected within our Rotarian community. Please pray with me that we listen today to educate ourselves with openness and compassion about life experiences outside of our own. We pray to respect every human being's right to be different, to be aware of the suffering caused by invalidating or denying another person's experience, judging harshly any beliefs and attitudes that are different from my own or not understandable to me, to be open-minded towards other points of view and be willing to learn more about their worldview and individual experience, to be aware of the suffering caused by intentional and unintentional acts of rejection, exclusion, avoidance, or indifference towards people who are culturally, physically, sexually, or economically different from me. Together, we pray as Rotarians to be the reflection of our four-way test in all that we do. Namaste.
So to begin our program, we have a very special short program, and I'm delighted to introduce Lisa Mayfield, who do the introductions. Lisa, as you may know, is our very dedicated Vice President of Programs this year. Let's give her a hand. Thank you, Lisa, for everything you do.
I see what you mean. I don't even wear bifocals, but so last November, Kathy and I attended TEDx Rainier at McCaw Hall, and we were on a speaker scouting mission. And we are very excited to be able to share two of our favorites with you. One is Dan Finkel, who is a math teacher, and he will be here on August 31st to teach us that math is fun. And then singer-songwriter Xolie Morra. Xolie and her band, The Strange Kind, have appeared on Jimmy Kimmel and have performed with artists such as Crosby, Stills and Nash and John Mayer. At TEDx Rainier, in addition to sharing her music, Xolie spoke about her personal experience of life with autism. To learn more about her work or to get involved in her work with autism, you can visit inthespectrum.org. Xolie's story, music, and courage left an impression on us. She has a passion for raising awareness about diversity, equality, and acceptance of all people, which is why we asked her to join us today. She shared these words to live by in her TED Talk. If you want to change the world, change your perspective. Let's watch this short video, and then you are in for a treat as she plays one of her songs for us.
3, 4. I've had Asperger's since I was a child. It's just taken 30 years to find out. I guess part of doing this documentary is about opening up about the pain that I'm going through.
The sound of your voice spins me around in circles.
I'm doing it because I want people to know that they're not alone, that they can't overcome anything. I'm not gonna let it stop me from what I know I'm supposed to do with my life, which is music. Even with a problem, nothing can stop you if it's what you're supposed to do.
But I'm letting you go, and I don't know why I'm letting you go, and I don't know.
This is me on a daily basis. Pretty bad tics. I wish that I had more control over it.
I just didn't make sense.
My leg is very jumpy right now. My arm starts cringing up. Control the tick. Control the ticks.
Asperger's is kind of this thing that everybody sees without realizing that they're seeing it. The timing of it after my surgery was very bad timing because I had a lot of things on the horizon for my music, and having this happen made those things not happen. People saw the tics and associated it with a lack of confidence. I'm sure that they saw me as something that was not marketable, and it's unfortunate because they didn't really see me. They saw what I was going through. And art and music are the only things that I can do well without having any doubts or lack of confidence in myself. If I can touch just one person and help them feel better about themselves, and they can be themselves and they can love themselves, then I've done my job with this film. I'm Xolie Morra, and this is my life in the spectrum.
Hello, everybody. My name is Xolie, and thanks for having me here today. So without talking too long, I'm just going to give a quick explanation about what I do. I work with children with autism primarily, but I also started an organization called inthespectrum.org, which we put on the very first Seattle concert for autism a couple of years ago. So I'm looking forward to doing the third one this year, next April. So thank you so much for having me here. This song is called C'est l'amour. Hello, pretty pain. Look at you standing in the rain. It's love. It's love. When you leave in the night, dream of me holding you tight. It's love. C'est l'amour. It's a heart, it's a pain, it's a feeling all the same. When I see you standing there all alone, but it's a large price to pay for the simple games we play. It's love. C'est l'amour. And let me use this as an opportunity to say thank you to Marsha for coming here today, because I'm really looking forward to your talk. It's something very dear to my heart, so thank you. 1, 2, 3. Allô, de l'eau jolie, regardez-vous dans le puits, c'est l'amour, c'est l'amour. When you weep in the night, dream of me holding you tight, it's love. C'est l'amour. C'est le mar. C'est un sentiment profond. Oh, when I see you standing there, all alone. Oh, c'est un rond prière pour jouer simple et jouant. It's love. C'est l'amour. It's love. C'est l'amour. C'est un grand prière pour jouer simple et jouant. It's love. C'est l'amour. It's love. C'est l'amour.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Xolie. Thank you for joining us today and for your moving performance and your words. For members who are interested in Xolie's music, there's an opportunity to stop by a table at the back to learn more. There are some CDs and some other information if you'd like to see her in concert. So again, big, big thank you. Well, moving on to the main part of our program, if you can believe there's a main part of the program after that, it's my pleasure to welcome Jan Levy. She's going to introduce our key speaker today. Jan's been a Rotarian for almost 5 years, and she leads a major leadership development organization called Leadership Tomorrow. And this is for the emerging business leaders in our community, and Jan heads that up. So you're constantly populating, come on up, constantly populating our ranks with these excellent leaders, including some Rotarians. So Jan is going to do the introduction of our speaker today, and then I'll be back to finish it up. Here you go, Jan.
such an amazing group to look out at. So whenever I'm asked to introduce a speaker who is a former Leadership Tomorrow participant, I'm especially pleased. I met Marsha Botzer when she was a participant in LT's class of '98. What I remember is that her classmates loved her. I also remember that she always challenged them to think differently, especially when it came to gender and identity. Marsha has been a leader serving the LGBTQ and progressive communities for more than 40 years. She was a founder of Equality Washington. She has served on numerous boards, including the Pride Foundation and the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. She co-chaired the National LGBTQ Task Force. And in 2015, she was elected to the Martin Luther King County Labor Council. And she's received so many awards that I don't have any time to mention them because they only gave me a minute. One of Marsha's biggest fans said, and I quote, "Were it not for Marsha, the transgender community in Washington would be at a complete loss." Marsha uses her personality to affect change. She's not judgmental, and she is masterful at allowing audiences the space to ask the difficult questions. As one person put it, Marsha can effectively schmooze with anyone. Please join me in giving a very warm Seattle 4 welcome to Marsha Botzer.
Goodness sakes, do you know how I feel after that, Jan? Thank you so much. What a joy. What a joy indeed. And I want to thank all of the folks who shepherded me to this place today. They've worked so hard. Rotary is certainly an impressive bit of business, I must say. Goodness sakes, also want to thank the workers who are serving us today. And Xolie, this one's for you. This one's for you. All right. Seattle, I love Seattle. I grew up on Queen Anne Hill in a nice house that my parents bought right after World War II. Paid for it 30 years later to the clink of champagne glasses. Oh yeah. It was a good home. But not long ago, I saw that that place was for sale. So I said, okay, I'll call a realtor. I'm going to go and look. I'm going to go and look. A little bit fearful, a little bit, that's what I don't know. It has been decades since I'd walked through that door. I did it, and oh my goodness, was Rod Serling sitting in the corner? The house had seen 4 separate owners and families since my time, and yet there it was, looking so much like it was when I was there. I went down into the basement. Basements, my goodness, basements. All right, I went down to the basement to look at where I had at one time built a little place where I could dream of the impossible future, the impossible self, the impossible. And there, in that basement, where I tried to build that place, were my fingerprints still in the putty holding the temporary lamp in place. And on the wall to one of the closets, a picture I'd done at 12. I tell you, oh my friends, that strange and by chance childhood museum may not have changed in 57 years. But the rest of Queen Anne, the city, the culture, and the world certainly has. Oh yes, it's a very long way from that event to now, today, to this platform, and it's also a very long way from some time in the 70s when I sat in a basement in Denver, Colorado with other folks who defined ourselves as transsexual. That's the only word we had at the time. And we were talking about many things, but we were also debating a request we'd had from, oh, I don't know if you remember this, underground radio stations, little small power radio stations, yeah. We had a request to come on the show next day and talk about ourselves, and we talked about that night. And then we took a vote about 11 o'clock, and our vote was no. Why? Because at that time, we felt that if we told them out there about us in here, they would kill us. It's a long way from there to here. Oh, it most certainly is, my friends, my goodness sakes. But that night in Denver, I was really feeling the need to work out ways of helping. For you see, I'd spent a long time in the labor movement by then. I'd taken a little break to go to Paris for the revolution in '68. And one night after that, I was in Venice sitting under, well, on the San Marco Square, sitting under that winged horse, and I heard someone say they knew someone who'd heard someone who might have had a cousin who made a gender transition. Oh my goodness, I had thought I was the only one. I didn't know that this was in the world, but yes, indeed, I came back to the States right away. I looked for help. There was none. Oh, there were a few pockets, but I couldn't find them. That was pre-internet. And so that night in Denver, I recommitted myself, because what the labor movement told me and what the trip to Paris and all the rest of it told me was that if it isn't there, let us make it ourselves. That's what you do. I see that clearly. So, my friends, that's the genesis of Ingersoll Gender Center. 40 years now down the line, we serve people who deal with these issues, families, friends, employers, everyone. That's what we do. We have support groups. There's one that happens every Wednesday, open to everyone. We have not missed a support group. I'm proud of this. In 40 years, never missed one every week. Oh, my goodness. So out of all of those decades of work, and all the thousands upon thousands of individuals that I have met around this world, I've been lucky enough to travel the world and meet others, I want to distill a few thoughts about this business of gender and identity. And they are my thoughts, I admit, but I base them on all that I mentioned and the thousands who can't even see them. I feel their shadows of individuals who have taught me over the years. Well, here it is. I think, and I could have spoken and did hours in years past, that the origin of all the concerns about gender and identity and transition and transgender and all the rest of it come to two things when fear is involved, when concern is involved, and it is fear itself and misunderstanding. Those two things. There's so much packed in all of those. And I translate it to this: fear and misunderstanding of what transgender is and what it is not. So what transgender is, oh, this will surprise you. I'm sure you will stand up and wonder at the brilliance of my interpretation. Transgender is human. And you know, I used to say that all the time, but now we have empirical worldwide evidence to back up that statement. Oh, yes, indeed, we do. It is human. It is a human experience across the globe, and it is the question of who am I, and how shall I bring that sense of self into the world in some safe and healthy way. I've heard it in the penthouses of Paris and in the villages across the globe. It's the same thing in different languages, but the very same thing. And what transgender is not? It's not sickness, it's not sin, it's not evil, it's not perversion, it's not a moment's unthinking move. It is none of those things. It is not some dangerous misunderstanding of identity, sexual or otherwise. It's none of those things. It's not about, let me put it this way, transgender, oh my goodness, and forgive me those who are experts in this business, and there are many now. There are many now, but I have to say it quickly. Transgender is not about doing anything. It is about being. Yes, that's what it is, and it's not about sex, it's about identity. It's not about who you go to bed with or who you love, it's about who you are. Think of this, what if tomorrow you find that during the night Franz Kafka has visited you? This is a thought experiment. What if this has happened? And you get up in the morning, you walk into the bathroom, and there in the mirror is the other gender, if in fact there is only one other. Another whole chat, my friends. But let's say you look in the mirror, and you see the other gender. Well, what's going to happen? Thought experiment, of course. If you're overjoyed, come and visit me. But likely, you're going to throw on some clothes and head to your best friend. I imagine, something like that. You're running down the road. And as you go, someone says, "Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir." People still do, yes, indeed. What's going to happen? Thought experiment. What are you going to do? Perhaps you're going to say, "No, no, no, that's not who I am. That's not who I am." And if you grab them and try and tell them, they're going to say, "But look at you, look at you. You know, I hope you're on your way to your psychiatrist or something." Because they're going to look at what they think explains you. Well, it's just a thought experiment, but consider it as one way of talking about the experience of a gender identity that goes to the very core of your being, that is there yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and you try to explain that to others. How can you do it? But it is true that deepest sense of self doesn't match the physical body, and something must be done. So now, because there isn't time for my interminable lectures, I want to talk a little bit about language, because these days language is something, I tell you, remember in Denver there was only that one word. Now there are so many words around gender and identity. And whenever there are therapists or physicians or others who want to serve the community, they will come and sometimes they will say, "Teach me the right word to say. I don't want to harm anyone. I don't want to say the wrong thing." And what that sometimes does is they say nothing. And we, no, can't have it, no. So I say this: don't worry about language. If someone came in that door right now, came up and sat down and said, I'm thinking about gender and identity, what I want to do is I want to ask them, who are you? Tell me who you are. If you want a term or a word, we'll find it. We have buckets of words. We have more words than most groups. I tell you, I got a friend in London who does a book a year. How do they do that? But they also they just make up terms. So what I'm getting at is, yes, we can talk about transgender, transsexual, gender nonconforming, cisgender. We can talk about all kinds of words. But don't let that get in the way of communicating with your person, your friend, whoever it may be, who comes and sits with you and says, "I'm struggling," or "I'm thinking," or whatever it is. It will come out. And if they want a word, come, we will supply all the words necessary. There are now, as opposed to that time in Denver or the time when I came back from Europe and looked and called and got no so many times, as opposed to that, there are now so many options in a place like this. Seattle is one of the best places, if not, well, of course, it's the best place for dealing with these issues, but probably absolutely one of the reasons is we and other activists and other workers have been here for so long. But nevertheless, there are now endless supports in a place like this, and even as you step out into other parts of the world, other parts of even the state, there will be a therapist or a counselor or somebody not too far away. At Ingersoll, we have a consult group for therapists and physicians. In the therapist group, there are 350 members in this state. So that is possible. It's there. It's there with folks who know how to talk about families, know how to talk with individuals, and all the rest of it. There are support systems like the support group I mentioned, and so many other systems. There are coffee shops where you can go and have a conversation thanks to the result of all the good work so many people have done. I was terrified to go into anything like a coffee shop in the early years. All that is there, and that's the next part. It's community. You, my friends, are building community that make it possible for folks to deal with these issues as well. There are policies and anti-discrimination issues. Washington is a leader. 10 years we've had protections for transgender people included, and not one single problem has resulted. Only goodness, only protections, that sort of thing. Because, of course, there still is discrimination in many places. Oh, so much I want. Okay, moving on. There are groups, there are everythings in the world you can possibly imagine. I want you to think of Ingersoll and me personally as a resource for you. And here, now, before we go to questions, I'm going to, because that's actually the most fun part of anything I do these days, I'm going to make you a challenge. If you can ask me a question that I won't answer, not can't, because we can go to the Google to research can't. But if you can ask me a question that I won't answer, I will give you a prize. And I think I've got the prize here. Let's see. I do. Ask me that question. And this is yours. Now, this thing's hard. It's been a long time, but maybe you're the ones. Maybe this is the day I can finally unload this thing. I tell you what, and after our questions and discussion, I have two thoughts I want to offer you before I vacate the stage. So,
Thank you, Marsha.
let's do some questions.
Thank you, Marsha. Mics, I need Janelle and Ken. First question. All right. Ken is right there by Ana Leota.
Yeah, I picked out the number one question.
Thank you so much, Marsha. I'm so delighted you're here. My question is about what we're hearing in the news and the media about the bathrooms. And can you share with us a little bit about how we might understand the genesis of it and the current state of the issue around the gender and bathrooms?
Well, for the next hour, I'll be speaking on the topic. Yes. Well, let me put it this way. Because there is fear and misunderstanding, there is a perception that we who face these kinds of issues are somehow dangerous, or at least that can be said. There is naked prejudice. There is blatant hate also. But putting that to one side, it's that fear and concern that can lead people to oppose any kind of transgender or gender identity participation. There are activists in the room who participated in this work for a long time. And what we know is that we will probably be fighting for a very long time things like initiatives and attempts to outlaw use of this place or that place. But when you think of what this is and what it isn't, it's just a human being. The use of spaces like that fades away because the use of the space is not to abuse or to do anything but what the space is for. There's so much more to say, and I so yearn to say it, but I think you understand. It is based on the misperceptions that we face attacks. When individuals, and this happened long ago in corporations, Fortune 500, most of them now have policies and have had for a long time, because they learned long ago that it doesn't matter. Let's make the facilities available and we'll just get on with life. Now, to some that might sound, how in the world can you do it? The fact is, transgender, gender identity, it's human. It is not about doing something to someone else. It's about being who we are. So there you have, just a tiny little, oh my goodness, how we want to talk more, but there you have it.
All right. Ken, question in the back from Virginia.
Yep. Go ahead, Virginia.
Marsha, thank you for coming, and I have a difficult question to ask that I'm going to ask only because you encouraged us so nicely. And that is, I heard a statistic that people that go through the transgender operations, that their suicide rates are higher than other people that haven't gone through operations like that. And I haven't checked the data myself. I was wondering if it's true, and if it is true, what you make of that.
Thank you for the question. Hope everyone heard it. Not true is the answer. And here's how it goes. There's a number out there, 40% of individuals in a large study called Injustice at Every Turn reported having attempted suicide. But they lived, because once you find help, everything changes. Everything changes. Now, I've heard those kind of numbers, that is suicide in the transgender community or gender identity community, for decades. They go up, they go down, but the fact of it is, once an individual discovers that there is help, a counselor, a friend, anyone, everything changes. Now, if there are other issues, other concerns in the person's life, that might be a different question. But this one single thing alone, the desperation comes in not knowing any help is available, in not knowing that you can be yourself. Imagine that. You don't even need a thought experiment to go here. Imagine if every day you were called out to be something other than you are. You could probably do it, but eventually you would sit on the edge of your bed at 3 in the morning when you confront reality or whatever it is that we confront at 3 in the morning. you might say, I cannot take this any longer. And what we must do is welcome everyone saying there is something you can do. We never know what it is. In these support groups that people come to, we never know where they're going to wind up. But we know they can come down the hallway in tears and leave with a smile like that. Thank you for asking that. It's a powerful question that we have to keep doing research on. Thank you.
We have a question here from Jane.
Human beings are so afraid to change. And not only within ourselves, but the change brings out so much fear in others in the case of transgender. What keeps you going? Like, how do you face your own fear and go, like Xolie said earlier, and keep going anyway?
How do I face the fear? I tell you what, it's this that we're doing right now. Whether it's on an individual a case or whether it's in the group like this, because I know there's going to be a connection here. I just know it. I've been doing this long enough that somewhere this is going to ripple out, and someone who would have suffered and maybe died, but not likely, but maybe, is going to make a call or a connection, and that's it. I tell you, also, the most exciting folks I've ever encountered around this globe are those who are thinking about things like this, not necessarily always just gender and identity, but it leads to everything else. My goodness sakes, such political conversations I've had, literary conversations, this and that. Sometimes I just sit there in awe of what's going on out there in the world. It's that kind of thing that feeds me and keeps me going. Thank you ever so much.
And one last question.
I may need some help with the bucket of words.
Yeah.
You said that in Washington there has been laws protecting transgender use of restrooms. Is that correct? For about a decade?
No, it's against discrimination, transgender
against discrimination. Okay,
laws, yeah.
so I may be wrong. Back to the restroom thing. Is there any data showing that transgender people who are forced to use the restroom of their birth, or however you say that, are subject to violence, for lack of a better term?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is, and there's emerging better documentation all the time. As a matter of fact, it's far more likely, by percentages that would astound us in the 90s and plus, that who gets hurt in such a situation like that is the transgender person. Almost universally, that's what happens. There is a thing called Day of Remembrance, celebrated every year. Unfortunately, I mean, we do it because we want to honor those who have been killed by brutality, ignorance, misinformation, fear, and misunderstanding. There are hundreds on that list every year. So, I invite anyone who is currently thinking of a PhD or has a student in mind that there's plenty of room left for this kind of work, but it's in the works for even more solid numbers. Thank you for asking that. Thank you. Yes.
Marsha, we'll let you wrap up.
All right, let's wrap up, close, and get done. So I have two thoughts. One of them is just my own, and the other is from Robert Greene Ingersoll, for whom I named the center, great 19th century person, nothing to do with gender identity that I know of, but a great speaker for civil rights. Okay, mine is just this. Time passes. Change will come. Act now for those dreams that you have. Act now. And Robert Greene Ingersoll's line is this: the time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is here. And the way to be happy is to make others so. Thank you, my friends.
So, final thought on today's transgender topic. In January, I received the quarterly magazine published by my undergraduate alma mater, Mount Holyoke College. The lead story announced that the college had changed its admission policy to be one of the most inclusive policies in the nation. I was intrigued, so I turned to that article first. It started by reconfirming the college's commitment to core values of individual freedom, social justice, diversity, and inclusion. And after considering that, the college made the decision, the board did with the support of faculty, administration, and all of the student body, to update their admission policy so they would formally guarantee transgender students the same rights as other students. I paused, and then I thought, wow, we have come a long way, and yet how far we have to go. When I was an undergraduate there in the early 70s, we students were marching and advocating for the Equal Rights Amendment. But I was pleased, I am pleased, that students today are still championing gender rights. We all should. I realize anew, as I hope we all do, that when everyone is equal, we are all more free. I invite you to think about that. We're adjourned until next week at the Convention Center.